to Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show. Happy Friday, alongside with one of our co-hosts, Julian Guthrie from Grunt Talk Sports. We are joined by a really special guest. His name is Paul Loduca. Everybody knows him. He's a catching legend in the major leagues. He played for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Florida Marlins, now Miami Marlins, New York Mets, Washington Nationals, and he had actually 2 stints with the Marlins. So really excited for this interview, and glad to have him on the show. Now he's doing big things after his career, collecting cards, Instagram Live, entertaining people, fans, and it's truly an honor to have him on the show. And we are live on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, on all the podcast platforms. And on the Spreaker app, this is where fans can tune in and ask questions to Paul. But Paul, thank you for joining us today, and truly an honor. How are you and your family doing today?
Doing well, man. I appreciate it, man. You should be my front guy, Michael Buffer. I like the introduction. But yeah, got a sweatshirt on here in Arizona, which is not usually the case here out in the valley, but I've been very chilly out here. It's like 30 some odd degrees, but I know the snow's been heavy back east, but the family's doing well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, Julian, you can go first.
All right, Paul. So we do appreciate you coming on the show. I will ask you, I'm going to go back to your playing days. Now, what was your favorite memory and favorite stop of your career?
Yeah, that's a tough question off the bat. Well, I always tell everybody, I was drafted a Dodger, but a lot of people don't know about me. Well, they do know about me now, but I grew up a Met fan. I moved out to Arizona when I was a young kid. I'm from Brooklyn. And when we moved to Arizona, there was nothing but the Phoenix Suns and the IHL Roadrunners at that time. They played at the Coliseum. They both did. So there was no Arizona Cardinals. There was no Coyotes. There was no Cardinals at that time. So I sort of associated myself with the Mets. My father had coached Lee Mazzilli, who was on the Mets, and when he was younger, and a couple other guys, Pete Falcone and guys like that. And so I associated myself with the Mets. And once every summer, Lee would leave us tickets and we would drive to California to watch the Mets play the Dodgers. So now I've become a Fernando Valenzuela fan. I remember watching Fernando warm up in the bullpen. So now I'm a Met Dodger fan. So there's always a weird dichotomy there. So now I get drafted by the Dodgers. My father was a Brooklyn Dodger fan. They broke his heart when they left to LA. He says he would never forgive him. Now they draft his son. He loves him again. Then they trade him away in 2004. Now my dad hates the Dodgers. So now I get the chance to play for my childhood, which was the Mets. So, so to answer your question, number one is to get drafted was the best, obviously besides having my daughter. That's something you can never replace. Getting drafted was the best day of my life. I mean, let's be honest. I was a kid that walked on to a high school team my freshman year. I was 5'2", 5'8". And I just think every time I kept going places, everybody thought I was a fluke. And then just to get drafted. And I got drafted late, and I thought I should have got drafted a lot earlier, but I didn't. But I think just to get drafted. And then when it comes to, my major league stop, I love New York, and it was probably the best place to play, but LA, man, those fans were my boys, the bleacher creatures, I used to call them. The stops I had in LA, I just can't forget those stops in LA because those people are so true to me. Still to this day when I go out in that area.
Wow. Yeah. So speaking of catching legends, obviously you got Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, obviously Mike Piazza. So for you, what was it like wearing the same uniform as Mike Piazza coming to New York?
Well, it was always weird for me with Mike, because I was always following him everywhere. I went from the Dodgers, obviously, to the Marlins, same hit route, and then he went from the Marlins to the Mets, same route. And then the only difference, he went to the Padres. Everybody thought, Duke is going to go to the Padres next. I went to the Nationals before I broke my hand, and then actually went to the Marlins. But I learned a lot from Mike. Mike and I always had a good relationship. We never played on the same team together. We had a different gap. The Dodgers kept replacing guys like Charles Johnson and Hundley and other guys before myself, and then they finally gave me a shot. But I had a good relationship with Mike. Me and him always got along great. I think he's very misunderstood guy, just very eccentric kind of guy. But I love Mike. He taught me a lot of different things. And, my mother always told me, you always can learn something from everybody's, little this and that. And he taught me a lot about hitting, taught me a lot about using the other part of the field. And that helped me a lot in my career.
So you speak about Mike Piazza. Who are some other players that had influences in your career, like among the stops you went?
Well, Eric Karros was my guy. I remember when I made it to the big leagues, it's a lot different now. These kids are shouting off and going out on Twitter and Instagram. There's no Twitter and Instagram when I played. So you were basically told if you were a rookie, you kept your mouth shut and you were carrying the pink bag out to the bullpen and doing all the crazy stuff for all the veteran guys. They would do pranks and stuff like that. Nothing crazy. But Karros was the guy that always gave me the right advice. Just was my guy. It just took care of me. I'll never forget, he bought me my first suit. He had to wear suits on the plane with the Dodgers.
Wow.
And then he just took care of me. I'll never forget, he would tell me, this guy over here, do his interviews. He's a really good guy. These guys over here are really good guys. That guy over there, be careful. Don't trust that guy. So he was always just really watching out for me. He would tell me to keep my mouth shut too. And I think his one message that he always told me is like, when people always talk about a leader, there is one outfit that usually is in the room, a leader, but there should be all kinds of leaders, because if I'm out of line, somebody should put me in my place. I don't care if you have 1 year or 2 years. If I'm still out of line, I'm out of line. So I think a lot of guys take offense when a young guy puts an older guy in place. But if the older guy's out of place, that should be done. And I think Eric always had that sort of attitude, and it passed it along to me.
Wow. So tell our fans, what was it like playing in the big markets like LA and New York? Obviously, the media in both areas could be a little hectic for some players, but for you, how did you take it? And obviously, just playing in a big market.
Well, you got to be able to roll with the punches. Obviously, I've been on the front page of a lot of different papers in my career, but it is what it is. I mean, when I went to LA at first, there was nobody in my locker. Then boom, I become an all-star. Now there's 30 people in my locker. I get traded to Florida. There's 3 people in my locker. Yeah. No one even can give a squat what's going on with your social life.
Oh yeah.
I get to New York. Next thing you know, I'm on the front page for false accusation after false accusation. Then two days later, I'm on the front page because I'm at a Knicks game. And so it just got like, I'm like, okay, now this is a different animal. But when you win in New York, there's nothing like it. And in 2006, when we almost went to the World Series, we lost in Game 7. I didn't pay for one meal on Long Island that year. It was insane. The bill I couldn't even get it off. The bill was getting paid. Hey, we got it. Drinks here, drinks there. It was a magical year in 06. So that's why I said last year with Baez and those guys with the thumbs down.
Yeah,
I get it. The New York fans can be very harsh, but you better know what you're getting yourself into. And I knew after 3 days, okay, I know what I'm getting myself into here. I got to bear down, and they expect winning. And if they don't win, they're going to boo you off the field. And this is the bottom line. But if you do win, they treat you like a king.
Right.
Well, we're based in the New York area, basically New Jersey. So we know how that New York market is. Obviously, we didn't play, but we know how demanding we can be and how loving at the same time. It's very hot and cold, depending how you're doing. But they know we're very knowledgeable. That's the one thing. We always know what's going on. Yeah,
that is very, very true. You can't call out a true Met fan, because here's the problem is they do, and a lot of Yankee fans, They watched the whole game.
Mhm.
Difference between, and this is nothing to slight, I don't want these Dodger fans to be getting mad at me now. The Dodger fans don't watch the whole game. They can't. Physically can't. It takes them an hour and a half to get to the damn stadium. Believe me, now that I'm not in the big leagues and I try to go to a Dodger game, I've had a couple of Ubers just say, dude, it takes too long to get to the game because of the traffic, So Dodger fans don't watch the whole game.
Right.
Met fans watch every little game and dissect every little mistake because at the end of the game, it's all about the suffer. It is, man. Come on, man. Met fans love to suffer. They love to suffer. They partly love to suffer, but when they win, they love to rub it into the Yankee fans. So, hey, and listen, I'm one of those guys now. Now that I'm old, I'm gonna be 50 here in April. I'm a Met fan. I'm always gonna be a Met fan for my whole life, So I'm one of those suffering Met fans, man. Believe me. So I'm just glad they got rid of Syndergaard. I'm sick of seeing the guy with his shirt off.
That's pretty funny. Thor, but he wasn't producing over all the headlines. We'll see what he does in Anaheim. But I think the Mets had a good offseason. You should be pretty excited, I think, based on what they've done so far.
Well, yeah, you got to be excited. I know a lot of people are like, oh, if they're healthy. I think it just if Jacob and Max are healthy, solves a lot of problems. It really does. I mean, because now you got two guys. When I played, we had Kevin Brown, we had Glavine, we had some other guys, but we didn't have two. So when you have two guys that are, if they're healthy at their peak, where the team psychologically is telling to themselves, okay, we're going to win this game. We got Jacob on the mound. Okay, we got Max on the mound. All right, now the other three games, you're playing with house money, right? So you go 3-2. What does that equate to the rest of the year? It equates to a pretty nice, record. So obviously you want to keep both the guys healthy. Max at his age, Jacob getting shut down last year after having a monster year and feeling tightness in the arm. That worries me a little bit because when tightness in the arm usually leads to Tommy John or to that aspect. I know that Jacob's had it once. I mean, you're two is usually the limit, but we don't want to go there. Hopefully we've avoided that. I hope in the back of his mind, he can let it go. So if those two guys can be healthy, I think we're fine. I'm okay with Baez being gone. I don't know why you give a 150-pound guy $350 million, but that's could be for another conversation.
And what a great guy to have as a manager now. Buck Showalter, obviously manages the Yankees, and he brings a lot of winning mentality. I think he's going to change that culture in a big way. And now he's going to have fun pitching DeGrom and Scherzer every 5 days. And I mean, it's gonna be crazy to see how the season goes for the Mets. But speaking of the Mets and Yankees, actually both of us here were Yankee fans. Describe to all our fans, what was it like with the Subway Series, battling the Yankees, and tell us about that.
Oh, those were always fun games. I try to tell a lot of people. That's the other part, the Yankees are always going to be the front page. And even in 2006, when we were better than them, they still get the front page until the playoffs came. So, the Mets are a back page team and the Yankees are a front page team. The rivalry is not as big as the Yankees and the Red Sox. I actually think the Mets and the Phillies is a little bit more nasty. We got some bad blood. I mean, but those two teams, we hated each other in 06 and 07. But going to Yankee Stadium is a little different. The Yankee fans are brutal, but then the Met fans start to get brutal too. And when the Yankee fans start to invade Shea Stadium, then it starts to get a little salty. So a little bit of fun. I'm obviously, a lot of people know I'm not a big fan of A-Rod. So me and A-Rod had our run-ins here and there. But listen, it was always good fun. At the end of the day, it was good fun. You end up thinking about it now, like, I got to face Randy at Yankee Stadium, got to play against Derek.
Yeah.
Was talking to Tino at first base. I remember I was, bullcrap and Cano. You start thinking about the guys that you played against at one time in your career. I faced Mo in an all-star game.
Okay.
So you start thinking of the Yankees and the Mets, and now I start thinking, wow, I played against some legends, and it was pretty cool, you know.
Awesome.
So I'll speak on some of those experiences because I do want to bring up the All-Star games. I saw you were a 4-time All-Star from 2003 to 2006. So I'm assuming that was like sort of the peak of your career, like where things were going really well. And like every year you're going to these All-Star games. So Mariano obviously means a lot to us. That's a cool story. Who are some other guys you got to hang out with there that you realized things you didn't know about them, or just like some players that stood out to you?
I think it was my first All-Star game was in Chicago, and I remember I pulling out the hotel, and there was Barry Bonds and Giambi, and you know, me and Barry and I went to the same college at Arizona State, and we really didn't talk much because he was a Giant, I was a Dodger at the time. We knew each other here and there, and I think that guy's the most misunderstood person ever. I mean, he was like, "Hey, Loduca." I was like, I remember I was like looking behind. It was just like some hot girl was looking at me, you know, and you're like, what the heck is going on? You're looking at me, you know what I mean? So he's like, hop in the car, and they were in a limo. And then came out, like, I forget who else came out. It was like maybe I think it was like Eric Chavez, actually the hitting coach of the Mets. And we just got in the limo, went to the car, and then he's like, "Hey, why don't you come tonight?" And I remember we went to a club that night and hung out, and there was a bunch of us, like 5 to 10 of us, and Barry took care of everything. And you know, I think it's just like he was very misunderstood as a person. Was he standoffish? Yes. But Barry didn't trust a lot of people. But if you got to know him, he was just a super dude, to be honest with you. He just didn't love the media. Eddie Murray was a guy that didn't love the media. There's certain people who didn't love it. And I can understand it, you know, especially as high profile as he was, and this and that. But I know a lot of people don't really love Barry for a lot of things that he did, but it's an absolute shame that somebody like David gets in the Hall of Fame, a guy that was hitting 220 as a Twin, but all of a sudden goes to the Red Sox and is a Hall of Famer. Barry Bonds has never seen 220 in his lifetime. So
I'm actually happy you brought that up because I've been doing a lot of homework on Bonds since everything happened. Like I watched the 60s and all that. Like when we were growing up, like we knew who he was. Obviously, we knew how good he was. We knew certain things about steroids, but didn't know like what was true and wasn't. But what you said about David Ortiz hits the nail on the head. Like, how is he a Hall of Famer? You want Bonds or Clemens in the Hall of Fame? The guys are
David Ortiz is a glorified Jim Thome. That's all he is. Let's think about it. What position did David Ortiz play?
He was a DH.
Yeah, I mean, how many stolen bases does he have?
Not a lot.
How many gold gloves does he have?
0.
Now let's go to Barry Bonds. 8 gold gloves.
Yeah.
Over 1,500 stolen bases. It's not even close. And, you know, Phil Hughes hit it right on the head. Phil Hughes said, he's got the best tweet I've seen. Phil Hughes said, "Hey, I'm eligible for the Hall of Fame," which means a good thing. So I got a chance of getting in since they're putting likable guys in and not the best players.
I did see it. I did see
it. And it's dead true. It's dead true.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is you have writers and voters. I mean, all the people that are voting are all writers that have never strapped on a jock strap.
Yeah.
But if you ask any player that played in that era, go look at all the tweets. Every guy will say that Barry Bonds was 20 times better than any other player. Now, I don't care if he was on rocket fuel. Do you think that the other guys that he was facing weren't on steroids also?
Right.
You think he was just facing all guys? 70 to 80% of the league was on it. Bud Selig made over 10 to 15 million a year in those years. And 2002 was one of the most profitable years. And that man is in the Hall of Fame. And a lot of people forget he was over there giving, Roger Maris's son. Oh, yeah, Mark McGwire's breaking the record. Meanwhile, Mark McGwire's 6'6", 280. Sammy Sosa looks like a linebacker. And you're telling me you don't know. But, hey, Roger, I'm making all this money. And, you know, they're going to break the record even though they're on steroids. And they're all going to win. But you know what? I'm going to take them all down after I get elected in the Hall of Fame and I make all the money. Come on, man. So now Bud Selig's in the Hall of Fame. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens. are not. But David Ortiz, who's gotten popped like 2 or 3 times, is.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And it seems to be that there's a common thought that from players that Ortiz wasn't a false positive. I know Manfred tried to brush on
Wasn't a false positive. Yeah. Give me a break. Give me a break
with that.
I think they need to change. I think they need to change some of the rules.
How would you change the Hall of Fame voting, Paul? Like how should we make it better?
Actually have people that actually were on the field vote, that actually saw the players play. In the 80s, there's a ton of guys. Why won't they put Jack Morris and a lot of some guys like that in the 80s that were great pitchers? Dave Stewart, you can go on and on. Dave Stieb, who dominated in the 80s for the Blue Jays. So there's so many guys that just get slided. Omar Vizquel, when you're going to put a guy in, it's just all, now we're going to go in because all you guys care about is sports. Omar Vizquel with a zillion gold gloves. So I just like defense means nothing. They just want to vote in whoever they want to vote in. If you don't like it, you don't like him. What? Because Big Papi. Why is Alex Rodriguez even getting considered?
Yeah.
He completely cheated his whole career. And here's the other part is that ESPN at one time, all they did, God rest his soul, Pedro Gomez, was follow him and belittle him day by day by day by day. Now he works for ESPN and they're promoting him.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It's got to stop.
Yeah, it's good. It's crazy, and it's gonna be interesting to see if they do change the rules. But in my opinion, I think they need to change the rules to make it to have fair to give everybody an opportunity to get into the Hall of Fame. I think.
Well, yeah, that's my point. Is so if you're trying to tell me, okay, David Ortiz cheated, Barry Bonds cheated,
yeah,
Alex Rodriguez cheated, all these guys cheated. Barry hit 300 more home runs than you.
Yeah.
Stole 1,000 more bases than you. Walked 200 times a year, 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Got intentionally walked with the bases loaded. Name that multiple times. Not one other person in baseball history. That's what these writers don't get. Mm-hmm. That's what they'll never get.
Right.
Yeah, one day I hope to have a Hall of Fame vote because I am a writer and I'm trying to get myself into that position. But I promise you, if I ever do get one, I'll make sure it's a lot better than what you're seeing now.
Yeah, so we are live right now with former MLB catcher Paul Loduca. So we do have a fan question that just came in. So one of our fans want to know, what was it like catching Billy Wagner in New York?
Billy was always fun to catch. You know, he threw. I always used to tell everybody if he was like 6'4", God knows how hard he would really throw, because he was the one guy that I could stand toe to toe to on the mound. He was like an inch taller than me. I was 5'8". He was like 5'9", but he was tough, threw hard, came from a small college because he was a small guy. And, but he liked to throw the ball inside to righties. That was his spot. And he had a wipeout slider.
Yeah.
He was key for us. Great closer. And gosh, he's another guy that should be getting close to the Hall of Fame and doesn't get enough love.
Yeah, I agree with Wagner. I think the numbers are there for him. I hope he gets in these last. He has 2 years left, I think. So
yeah,
hopefully he makes that push. He definitely deserves it. I would vote for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, good guy too. Little known fact or unknown fact about him: he grows llamas in the off season.
Wow, that's interesting. He learns something
he's been doing that for a while. He's been doing that for a while. He has a big old farm. Grows llamas, and Billy's a great dude.
Yeah, no, amazing pitcher, and obviously tough to face like Mariano. Actually, I'm not like, I think 2 of the most all-around closers to me right now. I mean, to me, obviously Trevor Hoffman is there, but to be honest, all around is Billy Wagner and Mariano when it comes to toughness.
Yeah, probably longevity, toughness. I mean, what Mariano was able to do for a long period of time, you look at a lot of these closers now, it's tough to do. And Billy was able to do it for a long period of time. So you're right. The longevity of being a closer, it's a lot tougher than you think, because a lot of people think, oh, this guy's a starter. It's a lot easier on his arm. I tell you right now, the bullpen guys might throw more than starters do during a year. You got to understand, they get up, they get down, they get up, they get down. The middle relievers, Mariano will know sometimes this or that, but it will be a 4-run lead, and he doesn't think he's going to pitch, and then boom, boom, back-to-back hits. He's got to get up, and then he's got to throw a bullpen. Then he sits down. So that right there is 1 or 2 innings. So to have the longevity to pitch out of the bullpen is tougher than people think. It's tougher on your arm too, because as a starter you can sort of control. I can control every 5. As a reliever, anything can happen. Boom, you got to get up. That phone rings. You got to get up. You got to go. Your body's got to get heated up and go. So it's different. So I could have to agree with you. Left-handed, obviously old school would be Johnny Franco.
Yeah.
And Billy Wagner. To me, are the 2 best left-handed guys longevity-wise. And Mo, a lot of other guys. For about a 2-3 year span, it was Eric Gagne was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. But Mo was good, man. He was tough to face, and he was easier for us as right-handers, but man, he chewed up left-handers. I remember the lefties hated it. It was a crackback bat festival when Mo got on the mound.
Yeah, that's definitely true. You made some good points about relievers too, especially I know the Yankees used them so much. Like last year, we had a lot of close games that they blew. They end up getting active in more than half the games most times. If you think about it, if you're like a higher leverage reliever, even if you don't come in, like you're throwing for an inning or 2 in the bullpen, you're getting like 50 to 60 appearances a year now. Some guys even get closer to like 70 now, I think. So the bullpen's being used more than ever.
Yeah, the game's completely changed. They take the ball out of guys' hands after 4 or 5 innings or 5 innings. Yeah. There's no such thing unless you're like a Verlander or the bigger guys, the older guys. They'll let you go a little bit farther in the game, but they want to go inning by inning. They want to go 5 innings, inning, and it's almost like it's good for the regular season, but at the end of the day, one of those relievers is going to have a bad day, and it's a recipe that sort of Tampa has lived by. And I understand he's done an unbelievable job. Kevin Cash has just done an unreal job the way they've developed, but it's hard to win championships that way. You need those 2 knockout guys. You got to be able to swing the bats a little bit more consistent. But they're not asking these kids to do anything in the minor leagues either. They're piggybacking. They're not making them go past a certain amount of pitches. In the minor leagues, our guys threw 7, 8 innings, just like anything else. If they were feeling good, they were feeling good. You're trying to win the game. Sometimes their arms feel better when you're going a little bit longer. So, and what ends up happening in the minor leagues, they're telling guys, you're throwing 5. You got the next 2. You got the next 2. You can't do that. That's not how it works in the big leagues. So what they're doing is they're piggybacking. They're going, oh, you got the first 5. You got the next 4. You got this. You got that. So these guys know what they're doing. They're getting in their routine. Not going to happen when you get to the big leagues. Oh, guess what? You got Bonds. A lefty comes up, and they'll tell him, hey, guess what? Get up. You got Bonds. He's up in 3 hitters. Good luck. That's the way it is in the big leagues. But yet they're programming him in the minor leagues. But yet you got to throw him in the fire in the minor leagues like you do in the big leagues in the same situations. And that's where they do wrong. But that's their problem because they're hiring people they're hiring in the minor leagues are hiring kids that know computers. They're not hiring baseball players.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's a shift for sure.
Yeah, so I want to ask you. I'm just curious. Tell us about how tough is it sometimes being a catcher? Because sometimes there's games where you have to catch long innings. If it goes to extra innings, there's been instances where people have caught over 18 innings throughout their career. So for you, throughout your career, just tell us about how did you go with the process catching a day game and a night game?
Yeah, well, it depended. I used to go to spring training at about 200 pounds, 210, and I would usually end the season at about 185. So I would lose 30 to 35 pounds just because you do. I mean, day games and night games, I used to always tell my managers, like, they always wanted to give me the day off, except if there was a lefty. I remember I went in, I told Jim Tracy, I said, if you ever leave me out of lineup with a lefty, I'm going to come here and shoot you. And he used to laugh at me all the time. He says, I could always hit lefties. I was lifetime over 350 lefties. Now, if you want to take me out against a righty, that's fine. I'm cool with that. But I always wanted to face the lefty day game after a night game. And I used to say the same thing to Willie too. But you prepare the same. Your body gets up, man. The thing is like, maybe you don't feel it. You might be a little bit more tired, but as soon as you hear the crowd and sort of the whistle blows and you're sort of warm and the adrenaline kicks in, you're ready to go. I now turning age 50, I feel every injury when it's cold out. I'll go tell you that. I've broken all my fingers, have multiple knee surgeries, couple fractured wrists. And that's the thing is it's just all in my hands, just because my hands are always out in front and I was always catching. So I feel a lot of those, but they were well worth it, obviously. I mean, I was blessed to play in the big leagues for over 10 years and 17 years professionally, you know.
Amazing.
That's amazing stuff. Not many people get to do that, and especially the level you played. You did a great job out there, and catching is one of the hardest positions in there, especially to last that long. Like most guys don't even last that long catching.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, Mike Scioscia was my mentor. He basically told me, listen, if you want to keep on playing, you got to become a catcher. I said, okay, where's my glove? And he threw me a big glove and got up every morning and, you know, just wanted it. Never thought I was going to get drafted, and told myself I don't want to waste an opportunity. You know, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down in flames. I remember Scioscia told me to say, you know, let them rip that jersey off your back. Don't give it up. So I got up every morning and at 7 a.m. and worked with Mike. I hated it, hated catching. And he kept on telling me, listen, I know you can hit. It's just that, you know, you need a position, just keep on working this with me. I promise you. And I hated him. I remember the first year I hated catching. And then, you know, I went to the fall league in 94, 95, 95 in AA, and it just clicked. I'll never forget. I was like, wow, I think I caught like a one hitter, called the whole game, felt proud. Remember Mike used to act, he tested us all the time. He used to say, okay, we'd have to memorize the pitches, and then have to tell him what the pitches were at the end of the game. I remember I would try to like write them down in the dugout, try to so I could answer the questions. He tested me to the fullest, and it sucked, but it was the best advice I ever had. And I wouldn't be in the big leagues, or wouldn't have been in the big leagues if it wasn't for Mike Scioscia.
Wow, it's amazing. Mike Scioscia, what a heck of a manager. I'm hoping he gets another chance. If he wants to manage again, he deserves another chance. And but we have another fan question in here. Someone wants to know, what was it like playing underneath Willie Randolph, and what was he like as a manager?
Willie's my boy. I would say Willie, probably the sweetest, nicest man I've ever met. Love playing for him. If anybody goes back and looks at 2006 when we clinched, just watch the hug I give Willie. And me and him had a special bond. He was just a great guy. He really was. You know, he came over from the Yankees, and he always wanted to beat him, and he just had that fierceness about him. And I always got along with Willie very, very well. I had a lot of stuff hit the fan when it came to the newspapers, and Willie really stuck up for me. He was the first guy that really said, hey, man, what's going on here? Are you guys going to stick up for this kid? Wow. They're saying stuff in the paper that was this and that. And Willie stuck up for me. Didn't, you know, and I'll never forget that. And him and his family were great to my family too. Wow. And he just, you're right. He deserves to be a manager again.
Yeah.
100%. So so what are you up to now, and how was your transition off of baseball?
Well, I've been doing a lot of different stuff. I started doing horse racing.
Yeah.
A lot of people were wondering how the heck did you get into horse racing, but I owned horses. I've been doing that for a long time. So I do that on Fox. And then I started a collectibles, Loduca collectibles. So I do some selling of sports cards, collectibles on Whatnot, the app, and got a ton of stuff in this room. We sell everything: baseball, basketball, football, UFC. I usually try to take care of my people that come in the room and try to give them some kind of, you know, of my memorabilia game. I have a ton of game memorabilia, even if it's a ticket or a ball I've given away a bat, jersey, stuff like that. Trying to have fun. I got my my bobblehead with me
Nice.
at all times for good luck. So, and then the other one is also that everybody keeps on asking for, and I can't give up. Is I just everybody wants Vin.
Oh,
Everybody,
Oh, wow,
everybody
man.
wants Vin.
that's you got
That's a
that.
classic.
Yeah, you can't get that up. You got to keep that thing.
Yeah, no, I got about my thing in the minor leagues. I got about 350, about 350 bobbleheads. I didn't want to go the jersey route of collecting. I always collected, but I didn't want to. Oh my god, what am I gonna do with 350 jerseys? I can't hang up 350 jerseys. It take up too much space. So I was like, you know what? Every time I'll bring one of my bobbleheads and ask if a guy will trade it for me. So what I would do is I would bring a bobblehead with me on the road, and then I would trade it with one of the players whenever they were having a bobblehead night. So my bobblehead collection is not bad. It's pretty good. So I got anywhere from mascots to president, old school President Bush to the Rock and Kane. So I don't know about the Rock. If I'm going to give up the Rock, that one's one of my favorites.
I'm actually a big bobblehead guy too, but it doesn't compare to you. I think I have around 30 or 40 maybe.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
A lot of the Yankees, a few other ones too. Maybe I'll have to check out your collection and see if anything interests me.
Yeah, I got some crazy ones. I got like Michael Jackson. I got a lot of mascots, like I was saying. But I took a picture of it, and everybody wants all my wrestling ones. Kane and who else? So I got Kane. I got Andre the Giant. I got a lot of different wrestling ones. Yeah.
Oh, my co-host Bobby will love that. He's a big wrestling guy.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
I gotta
cool.
tell him.
I even got, for some reason, I got Jack in the Box. I don't even know. And you guys don't have. Yeah, you know, when I go back to New York, we don't have Jack in the Box back in New York. We have Jack in the Box out here. So.
Yeah, you got to do a bobblehead Instagram live segment.
Yeah, right. I know. I was thinking about it. They're all in right now. They're all packed up, and I was going to pull them out. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'll be doing an Instagram live here pretty soon with some of my memorabilia stuff. I got bringing some of it in over here, but now I'm starting to buy into some Pokemon.
Wow.
Got to get into Pokemon.
Okay, we used to do that back in the day. Pokemon's classic.
Yeah, well, you'll tell you right now, you better go look in your garage because Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball, all that stuff's taken off.
Yeah. So
It's crazy.
Tell us about you. This is interesting. After your second stint with the Marlins, you retired. You worked for TVG Network, but you decided to come out of retirement. You signed with the Rockies. Tell us about that process. And once you got released, you went back to TVG Network.
Yeah, I came back. Jim Tracy gave me a call. He was the manager of the Rockies that year. He's like, "Hey, how you feeling?" I said, "I actually feel great." The year before in 09, after the 08 season, I actually finished well with the Marlins. And then I just didn't get any offers. But I thought about playing in Mexico, and I was like, I'm going to take the year off. I called Trace. He's like, "What's going on? You're not going to sign with anybody? Nothing." I said, "Nah." I said, I just had thumb surgery, knee surgery, and they were asking whether they were going to fuse my wrist or not. And I told them not to. So, and my hamstring was really, really bad at that point toward the end of my career. So I just really got healthy. Lost about 20 some odd pounds, started getting in insane shape. And Trace had called me, asked me, "How you feeling? What's your situation? This and that." I said, "Hey, I'd like to come to camp." So they signed me to a minor league contract, and I was doing really well. I felt like I had a shot to make the team. It was the best I felt in a long time. I had my legs back. I was faster than I'd run in a while. And Ichiro, trying to steal second in a spring training game. I went to throw the ball, and my arm went with it.
Wow.
I'll never forget. I looked right at Tracy, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I remember I just gave him the sign, like, "I'm done." And I started walking off the field. He's like, hold on. You need to go see a doctor. You can't just walk. I said, "Just give me the form. I'll sign it." So to this day, I got a torn labrum, and I tore the bone off. I tore the, I ended up getting an MRI when I got back here, but I tore the ligament off my tricep. So now I didn't end up getting surgery. Didn't do nothing. I rehabbed it myself. I'm a fitness freak now. So I rehabbed it myself. I can throw a baseball far enough that I need to throw. So I'm good to go. But everybody always asks me, can you make a comeback? I'm like, yeah, I need a rotator cuff, 2 left knees, and 2 hands, and I'll make a comeback.
If you can become, Paul, the things you do now, you can become a great manager one day if you're up to it. You can become, I don't know if you want to coach. I don't know if you want to coach or not, but if you do want to coach, teams has to be calling Paul Loduca because I think you can be a good manager, in my opinion.
Well, I'd love to manage. A lot of guys I play with are managing right now. My leadoff hitter was Dave Roberts. Chris Woodward's Woodward's a manager for the Rangers. A lot of different guys. Played against Eric Chavez. Played against a lot of guys. And I considered myself a pretty smart player, actually being a catcher. But that's up to organizations. I've had a couple of interviews here and there. You got to be able to put in the time. You got to be able to be dedicated. When I played, part of the reason why it was really rough on, towards the end and it gets rough. And I can understand, what Brady's done is unbelievable.
Yeah.
People don't get it. You go to the stadium from 2. I used to get to the stadium at 2, get home at midnight every day, man. And it wears on your family, wears on a lot of different things. To be able to pull that off for a long time, it's tough, man. It's really tough. So, to be a manager, you got to be there earlier than that. So, and then leave later than everybody else. So, then you got to be able to be somewhat of a father figure, but not too close.
Yeah.
Somewhat of the best friend, but not too close. You always play that middle line because guys will take advantage of it. You got to understand, every one of those players is making more money than you, except a couple kids. Yeah. So you have to deal with this and that. So I think I would be able to get respect because people will look at me and go, okay, this guy was in 4 All-Star games. I think a lot of guys, hence the manager the Mets had before, not getting respect. But I'll tell you right now, Buck Showalter is going to get his respect because Buck's dealt with people in New York, and I think it's a great hire, like you said earlier.
100%. And I actually do want to speak about some current things too, but you made some good points. And a lot of catchers that go into managing guys you played with, it seems to be a nice transition. But I want to speak on the current labor problems. I know you were a player rep and everything, so I'm curious on what your take is on what's going on right now.
Well, it's unfortunate. Baseball can't afford it. 1994, I was part of that work stoppage. I was in the minor leagues. They asked us all to cross the line. It was a weird situation. I try to tell a lot of people here, and a lot of people actually that are in the card business, be careful on buying a lot of these younger kids' cards, because they're not going to have spring training. Everybody didn't believe me. Well, they're not. They're not going to have spring training. I was part of it. The big leaguers won't be at spring training, maybe to the end, to the owners start panicking. The players are not going to panic. That's just the bottom line. That's just the way it's always have been. And they're not going to give in. Now they're saying spring training isn't going to start. They're getting nowhere on the talks. And the reason why I say this, you got guys like Torkelson, Rushman, a lot of these young kids that were drafted that just aren't playing yet. COVID, they didn't play. Now you're going to have a work stoppage. Now, are the minor leaguers going to come to camp or are they going to come to camp? When you come, I'd say 23 spots out of the 25 are basically taken. There's usually one reliever and one kid that surprises you. And I have a feeling that one kid's not going to be able to surprise you. So if you're on a roster and you're pretty much set, you're going to be pretty much set going into the year. So a lot of these young kids aren't going to get a lot of time to play in games unless they do spring training. Because here's the problem. They might start the minor league season when spring training starts. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
That's what happened with us in 94. And then what ended up happening is none of us got a look at all or played in any game. So it's a bad situation. It's something that they just can't figure out. But, we got the best pension in the world. There's no other sport where you can sign 5 years, 100 million, break your wrist, come back and not be the same player and get your 100 million. In football, you get released in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've talked to two minor league players, and I think the plan is if you're not on the 40, they're going as normal. Like everything's, but if you're on the 40, you can't go, obviously, because you're attached to the MLB.
Yeah, so what it means is what he's talking about is the 40-man roster. So there's 15 guys that are protected, that are extra. So 40-man rosters can't go. They get salary. They get different drug testing than minor league guys too, as well. Minor league guys will go as is. So that's going to give a lot of the guys that really aren't getting any love. They'll get noticed. They'll get looked at because the big league coaches are going to go. So that is one positive for a lot of the minor league guys, is that the big league coaches, if the major league guys don't get there in time, we'll be looking at a lot of the young kids. Are going to a lot of the young kids games. So we'll see how that goes.
Wow. Yeah. So I want to ask, tell our fans, you're always known throughout your career of arguing with the umpires, with the strike and balls. So for you, take us through that. And how many ejections do you have throughout your career?
Yeah, I don't even know. That's a good question. The method it was always the method to my madness. People always thought I flew off the handle. If you ever look at a lot of my throwouts, they were never in 8-0 games.
Mm-hmm.
They were never in games where we were winning. You never want to stir up an umpire when you're winning. Your stats, who cares? You win the game.
Yeah.
My throwouts were always because I was protecting my pitcher,
right,
or I wasn't getting that same call from my player, or I was either up in a rough spot and the same thing was happening. So, I always understood the situation, as in when to argue, when not to. I didn't talk to him much behind there, only a few times here and there. Some guys would ask me, if they thought it was a strike or if they missed it or not. But most of my blowups were, they were calculated. I remember one time I got the day I got thrown out is the famous one that everybody sees me, where I throw all my gear up on the field.
Yes.
I got thrown out of that game, and the only reason why I got thrown out of that game is the pitch before that was low. Now, the other pitch was a strike, but Tom Glavine had thrown the ball there like 17 times the whole game, and I was telling him. And you could hear me the whole time. I did not cuss. I just told him, let's go. And he threw me out of the game. And then I went berserk. I told him, you have not given me that pitch all game. Yeah. Tom Glavine actually paid for my fine for that blow up. So, for thanking him for backing him up. So, there was always a method to this and that. And I would go back and have a short-term memory, tell the umpire, hey, you're right. I always was honest with guys.
Yeah.
Always was honest. I remember there's a famous picture of me and Randy Marsh. I'm literally in his face arguing with an umpire. And Randy and I got along great. And I flipped his hat up. He should have thrown me out of the game. He even told me he should have thrown me out of the game. I accidentally did it, but I bumped him. I was wrong. I went back in and looked, and he was safe. I came back out. I go, Randy, I'm sorry, man. You were dead right. You were wrong. And he patted me, goes, thanks for being honest. So guys would want to know. They would say, hey, go in there and, was I wrong? Or, and I'm gonna let I'll tell you you're wrong. I'd be yelling at him. Then I'd come out and I'd be like, gosh, you were wrong. And he'd be like, I wouldn't like rub it in. You don't want to rub it in because you need the guy for the rest of the game. You know what I mean? So but you got to be honest with him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic. The umpiring argument, sometimes entertaining, but speaking of that, I'm actually going to ask you about like some rule changes and stuff. Like, I know you obviously have a unique relationship with some umpires. So what do you think about all this robo striking and all that stuff and some of the newer changes they want to make?
Well, it's going to be very interesting because guys are going to start. You can work a system, right? You can work any system.
Yeah.
So now if I throw you a really slow 12-6 breaking ball, and it lands maybe a little bit behind home plate, is that going to register in the zone? With a robot umpire?
I would say probably not.
It's going to be very, very difficult how it's going to register. Are they going to do it where it's going to land? So you're going to tell me if it lands at the top of the strike zone, yet at one point, at any point, it was never in the strike zone. Is that going to be a strike? That's what you're dealing with robot umpires.
Yeah.
I can understand fastballs and understand that. If the ball's on the corner, if the ball's on this, if the ball's on that. But Greg Maddux was the king of it. He threw a ball that looked 4 inches outside. It would land an inch outside. And the umpire would call it a strike. Well, it never, ever was crossing the plate at any point, and it was called a strike. That's what you're going to have to deal with robot umpires. It's never, ever. Now, you can argue that a ball actually hitting the dirt goes over the strike zone more than a ball that hits the top of the zone. That's only in the strike zone for what? 2% of the time, as soon as it hits the catcher's mitt, where the breaking ball that hits the ground's in the strike zone for almost 60% of the time. That's why going with robot umpires is going to be tricky, you know?
Wow. Yeah. So we have another fan question that came in here. So one of our fans wanted to know, what was it like playing with David Wright in your Mets career?
Well, David Wright, one of my best friends, great to play with. Obviously a shame his career ended short. He basically degenerative ligaments in his back, just degeneratively. I played with another guy named Darren Driver that was like that. It's just something he was born with. And David was a clutch hitter, great guy to play with, big part of our lineup too. I know he's happily married in Manhattan Beach now, so I'm happy for him, and I wish him nothing but the best. We keep in touch as much as we can. But yeah, one of my favorite teammates by far.
Wow.
What would you say would be your message to younger players coming up now, maybe as catchers or just trying to break into the big leagues in general? Like, what would be some sound advice you would have for them?
Well, there's a lot of different sound advice. I mean, to me, the best advice I ever got is go to class or you can't play. My junior college coach instilled that in me, number one. I mean, going to class is key. And then after that, just try to touch it. Don't try to do too much. I think a lot of young kids, especially kids that are my size, they're not as big. Their best poke right now is over the shortstop's head, and they're trying to hit it so far. When we try to hit it so far, it's just like throwing a punch. You see guys like, MMA guys or boxing, the best punches are the short punches. The short punches, they're the ones that knock you out. As soon as you roundhouse, you turn your head, just like hitting. As soon as I roundhouse and turn my head, I'm not going to be able to hit the ball. Let the pitcher supply the power. And like, Mike Socha told me, let them take the jersey off your back. Compete to a point. I don't care if you hit a ground ball to the pitcher or not. Compete to the point till they take you off the field. And then if that's not it, do whatever else you want to do that makes you happy.
Wow. Yeah. So this is a 2-part question. Tell us about some of your best games that you had throughout your career, your best moments as a baseball player, and also the next part. What got you into horse racing? Obviously, great that watching horse racing is awesome. But what got into horse racing?
Well, my best game was probably my 6-for-6 game I had with the Dodgers. That memory sticks out. And then getting traded by the Dodgers and then tagging 2 guys out at home plate with the Mets, obviously, is up there. Those are probably my 2 fondest memories when it comes baseball wise. I got into horses because my dad loved them. He used to take me to the racetrack when I was a kid. He owned them when I was a kid. 8-10 years old, they used to go to the racetrack, and then I started owning them too. So it was something I got into. I learned the vernacular at a young age, and it's a different vernacular. It's like learning a different language. So, so that was a lot of fun. And for me to be able to take my knowledge there and back and forth and Fox and having that relationship with Fox is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a good thing you got into. I was surprised to hear you ended up doing the horse racing, but it's definitely it's a fast-paced game and everything.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's a lot of fun, a lot of action. Get to wear your fancy clothes and suits, get to dress up, It's all the old suits I had from when I was playing. I might as well use them, right?
Speaking of dressing up, that's I love seeing the classic suits and all the women where they wear the classic dresses from back in the day. They bring it
Yeah.
back to the horse racing. So what would you say your best memorable horse race you've been a part of?
Oh, she's the Kentucky Derby actually, and I've been to a couple Kentucky Derbies. Those are always fun. Like you said, people come with the fancy hats. Some of these women take like days and days to make these hats. They have hat contests. Some of these hats weigh like 30 pounds. I don't even know how they wear them around, man. It's crazy. So yeah, the horse pageantry and the people that come out for the races and the way people dress, the Kentucky Derby, there's nothing like it. It's just the best. It's the best feeling in the world. Now you got to be careful now. There's going to be a lot of intoxicated people, so be careful when you go to the Derby, and make sure you have a good parking spot. But it's something you should be on your bucket list, even if you're not a horse racing fan. Just the pageantry about it, and just the way people, like you said, people go back to the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. Everybody dresses in a different, like different era, and it's really cool.
I really do want to go. I've never been to a big horse race. It seems fun though.
No, they're fun. They're a lot of fun. The ones in Kentucky are a lot of fun. You got some around the corner. I know it's cold right now, but the Belmont and obviously Saratoga, up in Saratoga Springs, New York, is the big meet. Yeah,
it's not too far from us.
Yeah, we got actually, I'm in Florida right now for vacation, but I live in New Jersey, and in Freehold, New Jersey. I'm sure you know of Freehold, New Jersey.
Oh yeah, so you're not far from the harness track there.
Yeah, they have a horse track there. Have you been there before, by the way?
Gosh, a long time ago. I was a kid. Did they build a casino there?
I'm not too sure. I got to double check on that. Wait, they were trying to build a casino there?
No, I don't know. Somebody had told me it was either there or something else, but I hadn't been Freehold in a while. But yeah, I was a kid. I do see that they do still run the harness racing there. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I got to double check on that if they're going to build a casino. I mean, obviously we need something there, so I think building a casino there, that would help.
Yeah, well, you guys have done well with the betting in New Jersey. Now New York's got it now, but New Jersey's gotten a lot of help with the betting. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We got a lot of places we can do that. So I'm gonna ask about your card collection. I think we talked about it a little bit, but what got you into card collecting?
Oh, I just collected them ever since I was a kid. Every present I ever got, Christmas or birthday, it was a box of cards, and just opened them and put them in, and just been collecting them for my whole life. And then trading them with my buddies, this and that, and just always really had them, and then really stopped. And then obviously the hobby is obviously blown up like Bitcoin in the last couple of years, and lo and behold, I have some of the stuff. So it's been pretty crazy.
Yep, we're definitely into that too. Like I said earlier, Grunt Talks MLB. We have our card shop. We do some memorabilia stuff too, actually. I think we're trying to get that going, but it's definitely a fun hobby. And I think it really, what I think happens? I think it really picked up during the pandemic. I feel like that's when it started to skyrocket because everyone got bored. So like they were looking for things to do. And I think now it's kind of like back.
Yeah, everybody got those stimulus checks and was buying stuff. It came back. And obviously with Kobe, what ended up happening was the wax era, which was the crap wax era. It was like from like that 86 to 92, which is, Bonds, Clemens, and those guys, the guys that were the steroid guys, it was a crap wax era. But then, then 93 to 98, no one foresaw Jeter, LeBron, and Kobe.
Yeah.
And that's just the bottom line. When you look at Jeter, LeBron, and Kobe, you're looking at three absolute legends that you'd put on the top 10. So when those three guys came along, then Michael started signing cards. So now Michael, Kobe, and LeBron are signing cards together.
Yeah.
And that was never happening before. And then they turned the hobby into more of that. So, Michael signing cards, I think saved the hobby because Michael at one time was so limited just to Upper Deck. He was just limited to one company and still sort of is. But then LeBron coming out, no one foresaw this 17-year-old kid to be in the next Jordan. And no one saw Jeter in 1993 out of a base set that was literally 50 cents a pack or a quarter cents a pack. Now that being his rookie card. So I think that those three guys changed the hobby completely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the late Kobe Bryant, and rest in peace, man, just still gets me when I say the late Kobe Bryant. He's one of my role models growing up, and I'm pretty sure his cards are worth a lot now. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they all are. I mean, anything Kobe sells. And you're right. I mean, the mentality that Kobe had, a lot of people didn't like him. I loved them.
Yeah.
He had the step on the throat mentality, and that's the mentality you need. The mentality I needed, especially the sport I was playing at my height. I needed that step on the throat. He was never satisfied, ever satisfied. When he passed, I cried. You know, a lot of people are, upset, obviously, with the past things that Kobe had in his past. Everybody deserves a second chance and this and that. And for him to see, you really getting involved with his daughter. And I actually got to see his daughter play one time. She's a monster. She's so good. It's unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
Was able to do some stuff with Kobe when I was with the Dodgers. So just those little glimpses that I got to meet him. It was always cool to me, him and Shaq.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yeah, somebody you'll never forget, and somebody that had the mentality that every sports athlete should have.
I'm sure it means a lot to you because you're a girl dad too. So.
Well, it does. Yeah, I am a girl dad. My daughter has decided to be a commercial pilot. She keeps asking me, are you going to get in the plane with me? I'm like, nope, you can go ahead and get up there, but I ain't getting in it. I'm like, she's going to be, she's wicked smart, going to be a commercial pilot. So I'm so proud of her.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really tough to see him go like that. Still feels like it's not even real. Unfortunately, a lot of tragedies taking place during the last few years.
Yeah, I think COVID has a lot to do with it. People reflecting on a lot of different things. A lot of people have a lot of different time to reflect because a lot of people have lost a lot of their jobs during COVID. And I think people are starting to recognize what's going on with life. I mean, we've lost a lot of great people. Prince, all the way to Kobe. I mean, it goes from pop art, and you can keep on going. Now Tom Brady's left the game of football, and it seems like I was telling myself, I don't really root for Tom Brady, but I just read down his timeline. And if you just read down the timeline on Instagram, you'll cry. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Everybody from Gwyneth Paltrow to Jay-Z to DJ Khaled to like every single to Kaka to Ronaldo, every single person and athlete across the world appreciating Tom Brady, calling him the best ever. It was just really, really cool. And how everybody just 40 to 50% of that man's life, he's been in the NFL. Like, it's just going to be weird not watching Tom Brady on a Sunday. So,
and actually, we had the fortunate of having some of Tom Brady's former teammates on the show here. And when we ask about Tom Brady, they say he's one of the most class act teammates they ever played with throughout their career. Amazing on the field, off the field, and makes the team better, makes the players better. That's what they say. And just an honor to be talking to some of his former teammates to get more like, what do you go, insight with Tom Brady as a teammate.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, it's just the bottom line. When you do something for 22 years, you win 7 Super Bowls, you're in like 14 conference, whatever it is. And on and off the field, nothing. We got Antonio Brown taking his shirt off, doing jumping jacks. We got half the people like that are either don't want to play. They got a pretzel in their head now because they're not making enough money. Ben Simmons is making $88 million, but he's not ready to play.
No.
You got everything.
Even
then there's Tom Brady.
Even
who's
Kyrie,
just
even Kyrie.
Kyrie Irving won't get vaccinated. So and then it just makes you appreciate a guy like Tom Brady even more and more and more because you deal with clown after clown after clown. Tom Brady's not worried about TikTok.
Nope.
He's not worried about anything else. Worried about winning football games. These guys are making millions of dollars a year and they're worried about their TikTok views. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's a different era, unfortunately, from that.
Yes, it is.
I'm actually a Jets fan, so Tom Brady tortured me for years. But I do respect what he's done.
You're Super Bowl champs, man. The Jets beat the friggin', I mean, like you beat the Bengals, didn't you? So you should be Super Bowl. You should be in the Super Bowl.
Exactly. That's how that works.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah.
I was joking around with that. A lot of people were too. Who's your football team?
Actually, an Arizona Cardinal fan. I root for the Cardinals and the Jets.
Okay.
So I'm a Jet in Arizona. I became a Kyler Murray fan. I wish they would fire Kingsbury and hire Peyton. So I'm not a Cliff Kingsbury guy. I know he came here for Kyler Murray, which I think is a good pick. But when we lost the thing that sucks is we lost DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
We buried the Rams. Buried them. Buried the Rams and the 49ers. Buried both those teams.
Yes.
So when we lost Hopkins and Watt, changed our whole team. And but I root for the Cardinals a little bit. I do think the Jet fans need to chill. I think Zach Wilson's going to be okay.
I'm all right now. I mean, I know we got banged up a lot. I'm looking forward to the offseason, though. I think the arrow's actually pointing up for the first time in a while.
Yeah, as soon as he gets some weapons, he'll be okay. I mean, he's a gunslinger. You got to understand. It's going to take him a little time to understand Belichick ate him alive. He's got to understand throw the ball underneath. That's just going to happen. But I just love his competitiveness. I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, so.
Oh no! What are you doing, Nathan?
Yeah, my father brought me up as a Cowboy fan, so I bleed blue and silver until I die. So I'm hoping in my lifetime before I die, I get to see another Super Bowl in Dallas. I'm hoping that's my.
So let me ask you a question. Why is Jerry Jones defending Dan Quinn more than Mike McCarthy? And then he's telling Mike McCarthy is he giving Mike McCarthy signals like, okay, bro? So
I think in this situation, I think Mike McCarthy is officially on the hot seat. I think he needs to, in my opinion, first of all, Jerry Jones needs to step down as a GM and focus to be on the owner, because we're not getting anywhere if Jerry Jones is still the GM, because he's messing up everything. He still wants coaches to be underneath him. He wants to control people in the front.
Do you know Jerry Jones?
Huh?
Come on, Nathan. You're a Dallas fan.
Yeah.
This is Groundhog Day. It's like a Met fan. You know that Jerry ain't stepping down. You know that.
I know that. He's not gonna listen to anyone. I totally know that. But if we want to get to the promised land,
I agree.
If it's a Super Bowl, he needs to step down and focus on being an owner. But he's not gonna do that. So. I'm hoping, but in this situation, I think Mike McCarthy. He's telling people that Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat. He's not obviously he's not going to say it publicly, but
of course not.
He's saying it in a different way, where they're telling us Cowboy fans close that Mike McCarthy needs to get to the NFC Championship game or at least a Super Bowl in order to keep the job. If he doesn't, if he fails again this year, he's gone. And I think in my opinion, I think Jerry wants Sean Payton to come back at some point. But right now, I mean, obviously Dan Quinn. I wouldn't mind having Dan Quinn as a coach, but I think Sean Payton would be a perfect fit. But in this situation, man, I think he's telling people that Mike McCarthy is officially on the hot seat.
Yeah, I mean he's saying it dead out. But the problem is you pit two guys against each other. That's not a good thing. So, and I'm with you. You're an owner for a reason. You hire other coaches to do their jobs. I mean, when you step all over their feet, this is what happens.
Yeah.
Good analysis.
Yes, I agree with all that stuff. I really think that's on point. Getting a little football talk going. I love it. All right, so Super Bowl, who you got? Screw it. We might as well just keep rolling.
I like Joey B. I think he's a different breed. I think he's a different breed. I mean, he has a lot of mannerisms of Brady. When the screen's blowing up, he throws it straight in the ground. He doesn't try to do anything. He won that game with 9 sacks because what? He didn't try to throw in a miraculous pass and throw an interception. Next down, got up. He's got a lot of Brady traits.
Yeah.
I think the Rams are phony. I really do. I'm not a McVay fan. They shouldn't have lost last week. Garoppolo had him beat. But Garoppolo didn't hit a couple of his guys. If the Cardinals were healthy, they're a better team. I'm telling you, the Bengals are going to bury the Rams in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
I've had my hesitations at D-line versus the O-line because I could see that D-line causing a lot
Yeah,
of
but
problems.
they'll figure it out. And everybody's like, McVay this, McVay that. We'll see what happens with Matthew Stafford. I'm going to call that the Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and these boys are the real deal. They got a real offense. So we'll see what happens.
And the good thing of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I'll pick Rams, but you guys are on the Bengals train, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I got the Bengals too. You know what's funny though? The Bengals are already practicing now. They're indoors practicing. Zach Taylor has them focused, locked in, and I think that's what you have to do for a first timer to get in there early, practice with the team, to get the chemistry going, especially in a big game like this. And by them practicing, and Zach Taylor, man. He was on the hot seat last year, going from 4 wins to the Super Bowl in 1 year. That's insane. I think that's how Joe Burrow made that big difference for him. I think when Joe Burrow was injured, they had nothing. When Joe Burrow came back, look at this. It's like it's amazing.
Yeah, and Jahmyr Chase and all that.
Yeah, it's insane. And Joe had a big part in that. Listen, the whole world didn't even know who Jamar Chase was. We were watching Devontae Smith and all these guys, and everybody said, well, this guy Jamar Chase is better than Devontae Smith, who just won the Heisman. And I'm like, really? Then you watch tape on him, he's better than Jalen Water. Hold on, guys. You guys got me?
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle. So, boom, Burrow tells him, you better take this kid Chase because I've been throwing to him. And boom, boom, you got maybe the best wide receiver wide receiver that's a newcomer ever. And Joey B is just, like I said, a different kind, different breed. So I agree. I just think the kid smoking cigars, the first thing he did say was, you better get used to it. We're going to win games. And I just think that cockiness and that brass about him, I like it. I really do.
It's going to be a fun matchup. We weren't expecting it, but I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be. I'm sorry, guys. My daughter's calling me.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Well, all right. Let's before we get to the last 2 things. For you, what would you say your hype music was throughout your career?
Oh, mine was "Staying Alive"
Oh yeah,
by the Bee Gees. That was the song I came out to. Yeah. Everybody used to laugh all the time, like, "Why are you coming out to Staying Alive?" I'm like, I don't know. I came out there one time and everybody was dancing, and I just kept it for my whole career. So I've had people actually have me sign a baseball saying "Staying Alive."
Wow, that's hysterical.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that's
and
true.
also, all right. Also, we got to do an Instagram live with Phil Hughes because he's big into cards too. And both of you have to do Instagram live one day.
I know that'd be good. You know who else is big is Evan Longoria.
Oh yeah, Evan.
Okay.
Yeah, so Evan and Phil, I think, do work together. So Phil, and Evan want to do something.
Okay,
and that'd be awesome. Yeah,
that'd be sick.
Yeah.
And then a meat hook. Dimitri Young has a monster baseball collection.
Oh wow.
Dimitri Young, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he's another guy. There's a lot of guys that are in it. I know that Deshaun Watson bought some cards. Has a big collection. Obviously, Logan Paul with the Pokemon, but there's a lot of different guys that have a lot of cards. So AJ Dillon, the running back for the Green Bay, he buys his own cards.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of guys that are into it.
That's interesting. I have one last question, quick. I know it's tough to guess, but when do you think we get baseball back?
Ooh.
I'm gonna say it will start about April 15th. They'll start spring training, and they'll give it like 2 to 3 weeks, and then so April 15th will start. Then like the real season will start the first, even though it'll start 15 games. Well, guys will start throwing more, so guys will have a spring training. So I would say April 15th would be my guess.
All right, that's not terrible. I mean, I can live with that.
Okay, sounds good, Julian.
And I'm just curious though, with the player, there's a lot of still players out there. So do you think the free agent market will go fast now since when the lockout ends? Do you think
when the lockout ends, it will go quick? But my worry is they spend so much money. A lot of these owners aren't going to be in a hurry.
Yeah.
To pay these kids, and I think that's why they up these so much, is to put the pressure on the agents, put the pressure on the team, the guys. Okay, Marcus Simeon and Corey Seager, you want your 400 million we just paid for you? Make a deal. Let's go. And that's going to be very interesting when that works, because guys sign giant contracts and you got guys like Soler and a lot of guys you don't even know where they're going.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
For example, me and Julian are Yankee fans. For example, the Yankees didn't do anything before the lockout. Do you see the Yankees maybe pouncing quickly here when the lockout?
Well, I mean, yeah, the Yankees are going to be the first to pounce, and everybody wants to play for the Yankees, so they're not going to have the issues. It's the smaller, market teams that are just going to sit there and play dumb while they swallow up all the big market teams' monies, and it will be the same 4 or 5 teams. That's what baseball's starting to get to. It's going to be the Red Sox and the Yankees. It's going to be the Dodgers, the Rays. It's going to be the same teams. I don't see anything dramatically changing.
So the last 2 things here, our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. I'm sure you know, former NFL coach. He's now the coach for the Grambling State University. And we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe, the kids stay safe, and we'll send you the foundation so you can go check it out.
Oh, I really appreciate it. That's awesome. That's good stuff. And very familiar with him as well.
Actually, he was on SportsCenter the other day. So
yeah, I know. It was really cool. Cool story. Yeah. So really cool. Please send me that link.
And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and all the essential workers right now?
Well, yeah, I would just say thank you. I mean, I know what they've gone through. My niece, I got a couple of nieces that are nurses, and they've put themselves on the front line. They've gotten COVID 3 times, all 3 of them.
Oh, wow.
With booster shots.
Oh.
I think a lot of people don't really realize the magnitude of this, aren't taking it as serious enough. I get it. You want your freedoms. Our family's in the restaurant business, my brother and my sister-in-law, and they've had it shut down and they've had to do a lot, and they don't want things to be shut down. We understand that. I just wish people would just take it a little bit more seriously. And I get it. A lot of it's just getting sick and this and that. But you know what? We're going to have to live in a mass culture for a lot longer than people think. Everybody in America thinks that everything's just a quick fix. It's not.
No.
A vaccine, if you look, it's almost 2.5, 3 years to be perfected. So it's still going to take a little time. And this is going to be part of life. Every baseball player, every time I went to spring training, I got a tetanus shot. I got every shot, every test. You're going to get a COVID shot. It's just going to be part of life. It's something that's happened in our lifetime. And I want to thank everybody that's been on the front line. They've risked their lives. And for all those people that have lost their lives, I pray for them.
How are they feeling now?
Better. So, I mean, I've gone through it. My father went through it, hit his lungs. Our whole family's got it. I'm starting to think that almost everybody's gotten it in America at one time. It's unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah. So before we close this out, Julian, would you like to promote yourself? And then Paul, would you like to plug anything?
No, come join me on Whatnot. Loduca, at Loduca Collectibles, at Paul Loduca 16 or my Instagrams. I usually post up when we're going on Whatnot. We always have fun, auctioning off cards, having a little fun, stuff like that. And you'll see me I'm Paul Loduca 16 on Instagram. And you see me do my lives. I'll do some lives and we'll have some fun. So anytime you guys need me, let me know.
Yeah, and Julian, you want to promote your show too?
Yeah, I'll be quick. Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate that. I have your Instagram now and your Twitter. I'll definitely be joining in your lives. Our stuff's Grunt Talks MLB. It's Twitter, it's Facebook, the website grunttalksmlb.com, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, all that stuff. My personal Twitter is JulianGuardi1 and Instagram's JulianGuardi11. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So this wraps up episode 972 with former MLB catcher Paul Loduca. Thanks for joining us today. It's truly an honor, man. We had a fun time. Great career, great catcher. Now he's doing big things off the field. A card collector, Instagram Live, entertains people. Big into horse racing. Man, hopefully you guys. If he does want to coach, hopefully he becomes a manager. He's gonna be a good manager, in my opinion. I just want to say thank you to all our fans for joining in today too, asking questions for Paul. And but we would love to have you back at some point down the line. But keep up the great work and stay safe.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. I had a blast, and you guys have a good time. And go Bengals!
We'll see. I sent you a message on Instagram too with our card shop if you want to check it out.
Okay, sounds good, man. Have a
Thank
good
you,
day, guys.
Appreciate you.